Good evening and welcome to the Town of Rockland Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Henderson, can you start us off? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live and recorded for playback by WRPS at www.youtube.com/WRPS-Rockland. Please go to www.WRPS.com/WRPS-Rockland.com for further information. First on the agenda, community announcements. High School Music Boosters Bottle and Can Fundraiser. Doug?
You stole my thunder, Mike. That's what I was going to say. There's going to be the high school music bottle and can fundraiser drive. That's going to be on Saturday, October 15th from 9 a.m. to noon right outside of Town Hall here on Union Street. Saturday the 15th of October. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Next on the agenda, review and approval of minutes of September 6, 2022.
Motion to approve the minutes of September 6, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. Next on the agenda, new business. Town Moderator Kevin Henderson. Chief Henderson, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very well. Welcome.
Good evening. I thought before we get into budget time again this year, I'd make another plea to see if we could get some citizens onto the Finance Committee. We currently have 5 openings, and with 5 people term up next year, some of them have been long-term members, and whether they will stay or not. And I've looked at the fact that if people don't come forward, I've talked to the town administrator, where are we going to go if we don't have people that will join the Finance Committee? I know in January, February, and March, they do meet at least once, they meet once a week. I know they've kind of skipped over February vacation, and usually by April 1st, they're pretty much done. So it does take up time, but usually they're not late meetings. And Laurie Childs, Laurie, you were on about 3 years before running for selectman, and I think they were usually out by 9 o'clock. Maybe I'm wrong, but it wasn't something that went till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. It was usually about a 2-hour meeting.
Typically.
And I think you probably learned a lot hearing all those budgets before you decided to run for office.
Yeah, I mean, you really get a feel for what happens with our tax money, and it's eye-opening and enlightening, and I encourage anybody to join it. And I actually really love the people I worked with on that committee. So you guys too.
Well, Mike, you were on there for a number of years, along with Rich Penny, and you both ended up running for selectman, which I think you could probably back up what Laurie said, that it gave you a sense of how the town operated.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, and I will echo what Laurie said. Before I got on, I thought I knew, and then when I did get on, that's where you really find out what goes on. You hear things nowadays, especially through social media and just rumors throughout town, and speculation as to how the money is spent. But if you get on that board, you actually sit there, and Donna can attest to this because she was one of the department heads that would come down, and we'd interview her. We'd ask her what she wanted, what her needs were for her department, and then we would go line by line throughout each department budget and make a determination what was needed and what was wanted, and make a decision what we could afford and what we couldn't afford based on whatever monies were available in those years. And it really is eye-opening, and it's the first committee I tell anybody to join if somebody approaches me and asks how to get involved, what they should do to get involved. And I tell them Finance Committee all the time. Unfortunately, that the amount of people that have been approaching me about getting involved, few and far between as of late, so.
And there's a lot of people I've come in contact with, and they just don't have the time. They're just not interested. But in talking with, in a conversation I had with Doug last week, is that, and one of his points he brought up is that when we go to town meeting, there haven't been many questions on the budget, because, and his feeling is that even though a lot of work is done to prepare it to send to the finance committee from, I'm sure it's the town administrator, the town accountant, that there is people that live in Rockland, pay taxes in Rockland, and they have a chance to look at these budgets and vote on them, and ask a lot of questions. And since I've been moderator, it seems that the people seem to be quite happy with what the finance committee has done, the work that they've done. It's a volunteer group. Maybe that's what shies some of them away. The word volunteer scares people, I think, these days. And but it is something we need. If people would, can contact the the selectman's office, the town clerk's office, they can contact me. It would be great if we could get at least out of those 5, if we could get at least 3, I'd take 5, but if we could get at least 3, it would be a big help. Because sometimes you're gonna have to miss a meeting, you've got some sort of family function or whatever else, there's a meeting, and, if you only have 10, and a couple of people, when we went through COVID and everything, people couldn't, I know we went to the Zoom meetings, but you still have sickness, or you have the flu or whatever else, and it ends up with a very small handful of people to look at these budgets and make decisions. And so the more people we have, it would be a big help. So I know it's also it's been put out there. Doug, maybe you can explain further where it's posted in, I shouldn't say Rockland News, but I'm not using the right words.
Are you talking about posting the vacancies?
Yes,
think
well,
it's-
yes.
I think it means the website.
Sure, so it's been on our town website for quite a while, and we put it out on our Facebook and Twitter feed as well, and we can certainly continue to do that. If I can just make one other point while I have the mic for a moment, just to amplify what Kevin was talking about in our conversation recently. Part of what my feeling is, it's a lot of work for me, and it is for every town administrator dealing with the finance committee, because they put me through the ringer. I mean, they literally grill me on every single number, and it's week after week for months, and it's a lot of work. But the benefit, as Kevin said, is by the time we get to town meeting, the voters at town meeting know that the finance committee has fully vetted it. They know that they've literally looked at every single number, and they've done that work for months and months, and that gives a lot of credibility to the process, because you wouldn't have a budget on the final warrant if the finance committee didn't recommend it. So that is the value added, because we talked about what do we do if we don't have enough members to serve on the committee, but it does serve a vital role, because your average resident can't do that work that the finance committee does. So it does add a lot of value, and it helps, as Kevin said, helps the budget go through relatively smoothly at town meeting, because folks know it's been fully vetted.
I had a question. If someone's on another committee, can they be on finance as well?
No, they can only be on, finance committee is the only committee that you cannot participate, with the exception of there's
Capital planning.
capital planning committee, which the finance committee appoints 2 of his members to be on it. That is the only exception. Other than that, you cannot be on another committee and be on the finance committee. So, but anyways, I thought I'd make one more try. We did it late last year or the beginning of the year. We did it, I mentioned it at town meeting, and I was expecting a throng of people to come up to me at town meeting, but it didn't happen. And so I thought I would put it out. It won't be long before budgets will be submitted, and the finance committee will begin their process much later this year, and So if you want to help the town, you want to run, possibly run for some office in the future, especially the Board of Selectmen, if you have any thoughts about doing that, this is the committee to find out. You get information from every single department. So, other than that, that's all I have, and I appreciate you giving us the time and giving me the time, but hopefully they'll come out and some people will come out and participate. That's all I have. Do you have any other questions of me?
I'm good. Anybody good?
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, appointments, Cultural Council. Amy Lynch, is Amy here tonight? Amy, come on up. Amy, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Lynch?
If you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in joining the Cultural Council.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Amy Lynch. I grew up in Rockland. I was out of my 37 years. I lived here for 28. My family's lived here since the 70s. So I'm like long-term Rockland now. But yeah, and I have 2 small kids in the school system, or they're getting into Rockland daycare and kindergarten. So I'm just trying to be a part of kind of getting, I guess, part of the town, like you said. Just try to, we live here, so try to make the best effort and doing our part. And the Cultural Council appealed to me. I love like Rockland Day and the stuff that the library does. So I just thought I could lend any helping hand if I could. So
Awesome.
yeah,
It says you're currently a member of the Fourth Floor Artists.
yeah.
What do you hope to bring from that to the Cultural Council?
Just more, I guess, involvement in the community with it. I'd love to get like maybe something with like the school or the high school art students maybe involved in that, the people who like to, be creative and kind of, I guess, bridge the gaps between sort of all those things that the towns are doing, or within the town, and get sort of it more present and out there. Like I love Rockland Day, and the fall festival's coming, and Rich talks about maybe having some fourth floor artist stuff present at like Rockland Day and at the fall festival and things like that.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to appoint Amy Lynch to the Cultural Council.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amy.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
All right, next, Charter Review Committee. Vivian Anastasi. We actually interviewed Vivian at our last meeting, so if nobody has any other questions for Vivian, I will entertain a motion.
Entertain a motion. Oh, I can't do that.
You can't.
Right, sorry.
Motion to appoint Vivian Anastasi to the Charter Review Committee.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? It's 3 and 1 abstention. Okay. Next would be Douglas Cope. Doug, come on up. First off, how are you feeling?
Very good, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You had quite a bout.
Yes, I did. As you know, I was a member of the Sewer Commission, appointed last year. Was only in that position for a few months, and I had some medical challenges back in January. I had just taken out nomination papers to run for the position again, and then I was unable to go out and gather those petition signatures, so I had to resign the position. But I still have a desire to serve the town. I've lived here for nearly 4 years now. I've lived on the South Shore for about 35 years, so I'm very familiar with challenges. I saw there was a newsletter this summer that said you were looking for people to serve on the Charter Review Committee, and I thought that might be an interesting thing. I am still I'm the chairman of the Board of Trustees at the Woodland Place condominiums, which is off of Pond Street. In fact, I just left a meeting from that coming here. And I served in state government previously also. I'd like to ask you, when you're looking to received some proposed changes to the charter, because I see in the charter, the warrant has to be submitted within 50 days of a town meeting date, and the proposed changes have to be submitted to you prior to that. So I'm figuring maybe February, if you're looking for changes to go into effect next year or proposed changes.
So I think right now, this was a committee that we had put together a couple years ago, and it fell through the cracks a little bit with COVID and everything
Yeah.
that was going on, like a lot of things have, across town and in other areas, obviously. So I think the hope is just assembling some people onto this committee, and we've had several people express some interest. And I think once we
Yeah.
get to a point where it's kind of enough people involved, then I think I'd suggest that somebody pick up the phone and make some phone calls and try to get everybody together and have a quick meeting with each other and see try to hit some of that some of the easier stuff before we get to town meeting, stuff that can be done pretty quickly, and see what you guys decide you guys agree on. And Doug, I think one of the things that I like about having you on that committee is your experience within the media and the messaging that comes out of charter review. It's important not just that the changes are made, but being able to give that message to the public and let them know why those changes are being made. And I think it's a perfect position for you, and hopefully, with the increased interest all of a sudden in this charter review committee, hopefully we can get something off the ground and going pretty quickly.
Good.
In the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Good.
So anybody have any other questions for Mr. Cope?
Oh, I just want
Yes.
to thank you for stepping up.
Oh,
And
Yes.
this is really the first step in, I believe that charters need to be looked at from time to time and fluff the pillow, as they say. And this is the first step in just bringing Rockland forward. There's a lot of opportunities coming up with the base and with, so unpacking all of that, the charter, having a solid charter is really important before that happens, so.
well, I
thank
see
you
the
very
current
much.
charter has been in effect since 1970,
Right,
so,
yeah,
It's
it's
been a
about time, right?
yeah.
Could use some changes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that, if nobody has any other questions for Mr. Cope, I'll entertain a motion to appoint.
Motion to appoint Douglas Cope to the Charter Review Committee.
I've got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor? That's unanimous.
Thank
Doug,
you.
your second appointment within a year,
Yeah,
congrats.
how about that?
Yeah,
Thanks, Doug.
now stay healthy, all right?
I will.
All right, next on the agenda, Old Colony Elder Service, Victoria Dybell. Vicki, come on up. So we've got a letter from Peg Bryan that just says, Dear Mr. O'Laughlin and board members, at our board meeting on Wednesday, September 14, 2022, the Council on Aging Board made a recommendation to appoint Victoria Dybell to the Old Colony Elder Service. The Board of Selectmen must confirm her appointment to the Old Colony Elder Service Board of Directors. Thank you for your time in this matter, Peg Bryan. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Dybell? No one? Okay.
Can I answer?
No, maybe not.
Okay.
So, Vicki, what's your interest in Old Colony Elder Services?
I've been retired for 4 years, and I just became Shine certified. So I'm a volunteer
Excellent.
helping with the seniors with their insurance deeds, and I just renewed my notary. And then Old Colony Elder Service is a part of the circle of the insurance needs of the people that I would be serving. So I feel like having that full circle, I could offer so much more volunteering there.
Yeah, Shine Counselors, it's a very underrated but very important position. Really, the experts on transitioning, people from employment and their job coverage, covered medical insurance to transitioning into, Medicare and, Medicare Gap Bs and different plans and what to choose. So it's definitely, a feather in your cap as far as, being somebody on the Old Colony Elder Service board. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to appoint.
Motion to appoint Victoria Dybell to the Old Colony Elder Service Board of Directors.
Okay, as a delegate, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Do you go get sworn in when you're appointed?
Yeah, if she's still here, you can.
Okay.
If not, maybe tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Either way. Next on the agenda, one-day liquor license, Fall Festival. We'll just leave it at that. Allison, Jean, which one? Both? Yeah, you're gonna leave her hanging, okay.
Hello.
Allison, welcome back.
Hello.
Becoming a regular on our agendas?
Yeah, it seems to be my summer months.
Yeah,
If you don't mind, I'd actually like to say a few things today.
absolutely.
Unusual, but obviously Fall Fest is coming up, I think 13 days or 12 days or something like that. And I just want to thank everybody last year. Thank you guys for giving us, the green light to go ahead and do it. Obviously, the crowd was huge, and I want to thank the community, as well as the police chief, the new police chief and the fire chief, highway, parks, all the departments came together and really helped out, as well as the community, because again, the community showed up in droves, and every time they give to any one of our events where we have local vendors, they're giving their money to the community. It's not going any farther than that. So I just want to thank everybody for that. And then just kind of give a timeline. Obviously, you guys have the printouts of what the event looks like and timelines. Last year, we kind of underestimated the crowd by far, which was a good thing, I think. This year, we had some wonderful sponsors, and we're able to do a little bit more than we did last year. So we have a lot more free events, as you can see on that paper. We have free face painters, balloon twisters, airbrush tattoos. We have a petting zoo. We have 4 bands at Town Hall. We're going to have Crush open and then Hip Shot Band finish. At the library, they have Play It Forward, which is the keyboardist is a resident here in Rockland. And then from 3 to 5, they have another guy, I think his name is Pat, I'm going to hack it, McCain. We'll advertise it on the social medias to get the real name. I'm sorry about that. I just found out really right before this. And then at the town hall, at McKinley, where we have the beer garden, we have Rob Henderson, which is another resident of Rockland. And then we have young man Chance Emerson and his band who's playing. They're in their 2nd year of Brown, just got signed on a record deal. So we're excited about giving the opportunity to them, as well as obviously the liquor license that you guys will be approving today and last meeting that you guys had. We have 100+ vendors lining the street, as well as the touch a truck. Again, all these, the fire department has a huge thing going on at their place. The library's jumping in to do a story walk. There's just a ton of stuff going on. Wally's back. We have the Transformers coming, Spider-Man and Wonder Woman, maybe some other guest appearance. The Candy Drop is right at the Trust or Mountain One area. Pony rides. And then, just a ton of fun. Food vendors. Peggotty's is a new one that's located inside Rockland Bar and Grill. They're not open to the public yet, but she's coming out and she has a unbelievable menu that we'll be announcing later. So we're really excited about that, as well as the vendors. The idea of bringing this up last year with all the administration had everything suggested to bring this up was to really highlight the center and build on that. And everybody's coming out. Well, everybody that can is coming out and participating. So it should be a great day.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Allison?
No, thank you for all you do. We're looking forward to it,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And thank you to Jean as well.
of course.
Of course, she's the mastermind behind all of this.
So where's the petting zoo?
The petting zoo is right next to the town hall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have a petting zoo on one side and the face painting on the other side, as well as the Lions is going to be doing fried dough, and then vendors all along on the other side. My vision is everybody's dancing in the street.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions, comments?
Well, we need approval.
I'm
We need
going
to
there next.
get down to
I'm
business.
going there next,
The
Allison.
most important item.
One thing
Right,
at a time.
yeah.
I'm still,
Oh, as well as who we're approving is Stevie G's coming out, another new business in Rockland that's not quite on Union, but they're really rallying. We have actually a recovery section. We're going to have Rockland Cares, Riot Recovery, Mocktails, Rockland Recovery House, as well as a new one, the Grateful Garden. Is over in Norwell, and they combine recovery with horticulture, which is my deal. Fully love that. But in the beer garden, Stevie G's is going to be doing mocktails as well, just to make the event inclusive.
Awesome.
Nice.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve Fall Festival 10/1/2022, 10th District Brewing, 748 Brockton Ave, Abington, and Fall Festival 10/1/2022, Stevie G's, 327 Market Street, Rockland.
So-
One-day liquor licenses.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Allison. Okay, next, we have a one-day liquor license for Trinity Church wine tasting. Anybody here from Trinity
So
Church?
they were unable to come,
Okay.
one of the person that was planning on coming is under the weather, but this is an annual event.
Annual
They do
event,
this every
absolutely.
year. I told
Yep.
them it wouldn't be a problem.
So this year, it's 10/23/2022. Like Doug said, this is an annual event. We approve it every year. It goes off without a hitch. So if there's any questions or comments for Doug at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve a one-day liquor license for Trinity Church wine tasting on 10/23/2022.
Okay, I have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, next on the agenda, Class 2 license approval, Andrade Auto, 250 Webster Street, Rockland. Is anybody here from Andrade? Come on up. You Douglas?
Yes.
Douglas, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in. What are you looking to do?
We are repair business on the 250 Webster Street. It's a family business with me and my father, and we try to help the town. And we already work on this town about 10 years. I live in Abington, but about 10 years I walk around here. And I want to do a class license too and a repair place.
Okay, paperwork looks to be in order. Anybody have any questions for Douglas?
Do we not have to do a hearing for Class 2?
No.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
I've got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion in 2 seconds, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Next on the agenda, other new business not reasonably anticipated. Doug, none? Okay. Next, old business, sewer update. Doug?
Thanks, Mike. Just really 3 things I thought I'd mention tonight as it relates to sewer. The first is, and I put all this material in your packet, I did send the sewer commissioners 2 email notes recently. I have mentioned one previously, but just as a reminder, at the board's direction, I sent the commissioners a very detailed email note highlighting everything that's required per the federal EPA administrative order, exactly what's due and when for our next deadline at the end of November. So I have formally communicated that to them, and I did get a response from the chairman that he understands and he believes he's on target to meet that deadline. We did request that their proposed submission be sent to town council no later than 2 weeks before that deadline, so town council will have a chance to review it and make sure everything's in order from a legal perspective, to make sure it's meeting the legal requirements of what's being requested. The last I had heard from the sewer commissioners, they might be a day or 2 late depending on their meeting schedule, but it sounds like generally they'll be in compliance with that request to have the material to us 2 weeks ahead of time. And then a second email I sent them just to codify what we've talked about in a number of meetings, which was committing over $1 million in federal ARPA funding for the sewer department, both for their digester boiler replacement as well as for extensive I&I repairs. So I sent them a detailed email note, again confirming that, so they had it in writing, as well as explaining the process, because this ARPA funding flows through Plymouth County and it can only be accessed through Town Hall. We have to submit the requests, and ultimately the funding, comes to us, so they do need to go through us. So I explained that process and what's involved in the application process. We've already submitted a partial application for about a little over half of the digester boiler replacement. The Assistant Administrator, Jen Constable, did that with the assistance of the former interim sewer superintendent, Dave Taylor. He provided all the documentation that we needed for that initial application, which is still under county review. So now that Dave is no longer the interim, I just made it clear to the commissioners exactly what documentation we need to give to the county so that they can approve and give us the funds. And again, these are the county's rules and the federal rules. We're not adding any extra layers to that process, but it does have to go through us. So I sent those two documents that seem to be pretty clear to them. The second item is I watched the sewer commissioner's most recent meeting yesterday, and I did note that at the end of the meeting, they voted unanimously to hire their own legal counsel to look into or investigate their own internal handling of fees, and in particular the Primrose fee that has been talked about both here and a number of their meetings. So again, they voted unanimously to hire their own counsel. So I spoke to our town council about that because that raised some concerns. And our town council confirmed that that vote that they took was illegal. The sewer commissioners do not have the legal authority to hire their own legal counsel. Per the town charter, only the Board of Selectmen can hire legal counsel. So those are just the facts. I assume they'll revisit that vote now that they're made aware of that, at a later meeting. And I guess lastly, because we've also talked quite a bit about the working group that town council proposed and we all similarly thought would be a helpful idea. Again, a working group, meaning some town staff, the select board liaison to the sewer department, as well as at the time the interim superintendent and a member, one of the commissioners. The intent to have just offline meetings just to make sure we're all on the same page and we understand milestones that need to be met to make sure that we're on track to meet the EPA's administrative order. And I believe we've made it very clear publicly and privately that the intent was not to usurp anyone's authority or to take any authority away from the sewer commissioners, because they have all the authority under the charter to make those decisions. But based on what I've seen at their meetings and everything I've heard offline, there seems to be no appetite from the commissioners to participate in that working group. So unless any of you have additional information that I don't have, in my opinion, the working group is effectively dead as of now. And just in general, my sense is, they are, in my opinion, and speaking for myself, you can tell me if you disagree, but in my opinion, they really are, overtly refusing to work cooperatively with us. I think they want to go it alone. However, I do want to highlight that, we'll continue to be professional and we'll continue to respond to numerous and frequent requests for information that we get from commissioners, most commonly to our town accountant and our assistant town administrator. So while they don't want to participate in the working group, they still take up quite a bit of time frequently asking for a lot of information, and we will always be professional and make sure we get the accurate information out there. That's all I have on sewer.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Doug in regards to the update?
Yeah. So another thing, I hope with the EPA deadlines that we will continue to send them friendly reminders along the way.
I will.
Yeah. And I guess that's all we can do. I mean, we said at another meeting that we're hands off, the ball's in their court. So we're rooting for them to succeed at this point. Just additional stuff, the digester boiler will probably be finished and all set in October, and pricing or bidding is now going out for the piping for that. And then they're going to be asking for the next tranche of the ARPA money for, I suppose, the piping. So that's all I got as far as a further update.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Laurie. Other old business not reasonably anticipated. Doug?
None.
Okay. Town administrators report and correspondence. Doug?
Thanks, Mike. I have a few things. I know many of you were at Chief Llewellyn's walkout ceremony that was held last Friday, the 16th, and it was really a wonderful event. I'm sure it was very bittersweet for the chief, but the weather was gorgeous. All the officers were there. The Metrolec motorcycle unit that he's participated in for years was there with their motorcycles. There were distinguished guests, our state rep, state senator. There were chiefs from all over the Commonwealth, members of the community. It was, I was very moved by it. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I know some of you were there and might want to say something as well, but it was just a great event. I think if you look at some of the photos, especially the photo where he had all the officers saluting the chief and he was standing in front of them, it was really just awesome. And I'm happy to have been a very small part of working with him for the last couple of years before he retired. We do have a new chief, Chief Zioli. I think he's in the back room. His formal pinning ceremony is going to wait until October 4th, just due to some scheduling issues with others that should be in attendance, if anybody's wondering about that. So next I wanted to highlight that, and I may have mentioned this a couple of years ago, but it's one of those things I think that COVID kind of derailed a little bit. But we have monthly all-department head meetings, and at our last one I asked department heads to have a selected group of them to form a subcommittee to look at developing a mission statement for town government, a vision mission statement. And we looked at a couple examples of what other towns have done. The school department obviously has their own, which is very targeted toward their school mission. So it was excellent response. I think we have at least 4 or 5 department heads that immediately volunteered to want to be a part of that. So my thought is we'll have them work on that on their own. Then they'll bring it back to an all-department head meeting and have all the department heads kind of chew it over with them and help refine it. Then we'll bring it up to you and have the board, formally either endorse it or if you want to make any changes. But I think it's a good thing to have for any organization, and I think especially for an organization as complicated as ours with a lot of different stakeholders and customers, and we all get put in some tricky situations sometimes, and I think it's helpful to have a mission statement to refer back to just kind of remind us all exactly what we're doing and where we're going. So that's something I'm looking forward to bringing to you at some point in the future. I don't have a specific timeline yet. Next, I just kind of a random thing. Sometimes I like to highlight certain staff that are really doing a good job, and this one won't be a surprise to you, but the animal control officer, Ian Davidson, he's just unbelievable. I was contacted by a resident in a part of town recently who's just giving me a heads up that there was a pit bull in the neighborhood that wasn't always under control and seemed to be kind of dangerous, and it was just kind of wanted it on our radar, and said no problem, I'd let the animal control officer know about it. And I swear within 90 minutes, Officer Davidson was in my office explaining how he's already followed up on it and is aware of the situation and dealing with it, all in a non-aggressive, non-confrontational manner. So I know you all know he does a great job and the community does, but I just wanted to give him props for that. Next, I also wanted to thank Chief Duffy, Fire Chief Duffy, Dave Taylor, and Sue Tasker from Highway. Others have helped with this, but those 3 primarily have done a ton of work trying to secure FEMA reimbursement for some of the more recent storms we had. And it's in the process of being submitted now, and the most recent numbers I got from the chief indicate the town could be receiving back nearly $200,000 in FEMA reimbursement. So that's for overtime and all other kinds of contracted work, clearing roads and things like that. So they've done an excellent job. I wanted to thank them for that. Next, I wanted to let you all know that I'm going to be attending the next Board of Health meeting, which will be on Tuesday, September 27th at 6:30, and I thought some or all of you may want to attend as well. The health agent informed me that we are going to be receiving a public health excellence grant. And what this is intended for, they're not using the term regionalization, they're talking about shared services. So what this involves is state funding to help communities that are short-staffed, like we are in our health department, to help communities like ours team together to have external resources come in that will be shared amongst all the communities. And some of the services they're going to provide will be Title V inspections, food inspections, housing, social work, and administrative work for, filing and scanning documents and files. So really helpful stuff. And if there are differences, so say one person doing, restaurant food inspections, if there's differences in any town ordinances or rules or regulations, they're still following our rules and regulations. So it might be a little different in each town, so that inspector will have to know the rule is like this in Rockland and it's like that in Abington or whatever. But that's a great initiative that our Board of Health and our health agent have initiated. So it does involve a sign off by the town administrator. So that's why I'm going on the 27th. But if any of you are interested, feel free to attend. And again, with the open meeting law, you do not have to post it at a meeting if you're just attending and listening and not deliberating. And then lastly, I'm going to be out of the office on Friday, the 30th, through Monday, October 3rd, as I have to go to town for some family business. So I want to let you know I'll be out of town that Friday and Monday. And on a personal note, I'll be sad that I'll miss the Fall Festival, but I'll try to catch it next year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Selectmen's comments. Comments and opinions expressed by individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of the Board of Selectmen and are the opinions and comments of only the individual member. Ms. Shortall?
I want to thank the former police chief. He will be greatly missed. However, he is being replaced by someone who is up to the task. I have no question. So thank him and thank you. And also the fire chief, who is equally as qualified. I think our emergency services are top-notch. So thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Selectman Childs?
Yeah, I just wanted to, express my thanks to our emergency services people. And Chief Zioli, I hear on your first day you caught a bank robber. Is that?
I didn't personally get it.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah. Well, exciting first day on the job. So, and also lately, I've been thinking about the Queen of England, as many of us have, and aside from that country being an imperialist country, Britain is a nation that was rocked by the collapse of its empire, and Queen Elizabeth made it so that today the British are members of a vibrant, diverse, technologically advanced, postmodern society. And despite their challenges, they still possess one of the most powerful economies in the world. And they have a remarkably robust cultural reach. And she had a steadfast devotion to service. And it made me think about Rockland, bringing Rockland from the old guard to maybe the new guard and into the future and what we want. So there's a book by Russell Kirk called The Conservative Mind, and I wanted to read a quote by it because it kind of encompasses, two schools of thought on where we could go with the town. And he said, both the impulse to improve and the impulse to conserve are necessary to a healthy functioning of any society. Whether we join our energies to the party of progress or the party of permanence must depend on the circumstances of the time. And we have some very exciting and very challenging circumstances of our time in Rockland. And I encourage everybody to be engaged and participate and really choose the future that you all want with the town going forward. And that's it.
Thank you, Ward.
So.
Vice Chairman Nyman?
I just want to officially congratulate Chief Llewellyn for his many years of service to the town of Rockland, 34 in particular, and 17 as chief. Job well done. As Doug mentioned, Friday's ceremony was moving and bittersweet, and I hope he has a long and healthy retirement ahead.
Thank you, Kara. Obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't say anything acknowledging the chief's retirement and 34 great years, and he's got a forever grateful, eternally grateful town in Rockland. for his service. I'd also like to recognize the passing of Ellen Baker. Ellen worked for many years at the Water Department. And I also wanted to, touch base on something that's been hanging over the town's head for several years that I think residents, kind of lost sight of and haven't quite realized that we're still going through it, and it's still something that's very, very important coming up on the horizon. Over the weekend, being at Chief Llewellyn's thing, I had a couple of people approach me and ask how much we wound up settling with a former town administrator for. And, I guess several people have shared that thought that we had settled as a town. But I'll let everybody know that both Kara and I will be defendants come November, as that case is finally going to trial after 4.5 years. So nobody settled, and it's not the plan. So we'll be going to trial in November. So 4.5 years later, we're still fighting the same fight. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, contract negotiations with non-union personnel, fire chief and deputy fire chief. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, all bargaining units, AFSCME clerical, AFSCME highway park tree, police officers, police superior officers, and firefighters, and to review and approval of executive session minutes for 3:15:22, 7:12:22, 8:9:22, 8:29:22, and the release of previously approved executive session minutes from 6:7:22, not to reconvene.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, roll call. Select Person Child?
Yes.
Select Person Shortall?
Yep.
Vice Chairman Nunn?
Yes.
And myself? Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.